Hello everyone, welcome to Bare Minimum Initiative. Today we are going to discuss about falling value of Indian rupee. Recently, the value of Indian rupee equivalent to a dollar has been consistently decreasing and it has touched its lowest value of 80 rupees per dollar. So let's see what this is all about. First, let's see how the value of a currency is fixed. Generally, there are two systems by which the value of a currency is fixed. First one is fixed exchange rate system. Fixed exchange rate system, and second one is floating exchange rate system. In fixed exchange rate system, usually the government or central bank of that country determines the value, exchange rate value of that currency for specific purposes. But in the floating exchange rate system, the market forces, that is the forces of demand and supply, will determine the value of a currency equivalent to another currency, that is usually a dollar. India follows floating exchange rate system, whereas some other countries follow fixed exchange rate system. Now let's discuss about the various reasons why the value of Indian rupee has been consistently falling in the recent days. The first major is tight monetary policy of the foreign country banks. The tight monetary policy means reduction in money supply in that particular country. This is usually done by increasing the interest rates in that country. So this leads to the amount of money available with the residents of the country will generally get reduced. So the money available to invest in countries like India, that is foreign country, will generally get reduced. So the demand for that particular foreign currency will increase than that of the Indian rupee. So naturally the value of Indian rupee will get reduced. And the second major reason is increase in interest rate of Federal Bank of US. So when the Federal Bank of US raises its interest rate, what generally happens is the return on investment even for a project in US or even for investment in US will be generally higher. So the US citizen or US investor will not invest in other countries like India. So the demand for dollar in such circumstances will generally be higher than the normal times. So this naturally leads to the depreciation of Indian rupee. And the third major reason is rise in the prices of crude oil. When the price of crude oil increases, generally it leads to the rise in prices of other commodities. So this leads to rising inflation in every commodity or in most all the commodity sectors in India. And the next major reason is, another major reason is Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia is a major strategic partner for India, and India imports many commodities like machinery components, coal, crude oil, natural gas, and chemicals and fertilizers from Russia. So the general price level of these commodities gets increased with the Russian-Ukrainian war. So this leads to inflation in India and thus leading to the fall in value of Indian rupee. As contrary to the generally held view, the falling value of Indian rupee does not necessarily mean a bad consequence for India. There are some positive impacts in this too. The first one is exports will get more competitive. Let's see a case. For the simplification of calculation, let's say $1 equals to 100 rupees. And a good produced in India costs rupees 10. That is, each good costs rupees 10. In such a case, importer in India can export to US or some other foreign country at 10 goods for $1. Now let's say the value of Indian rupee has depreciated to 120 rupees. That is, for a dollar, an Indian rupee is equivalent to 120 rupees. In such case, the cost of the good being the same, that is 10 rupees. Now the exporter can export 12 number of goods now. So this leads to a rise in 2 number of goods. So the exports will get automatically increased. On the other hand, the import will get more costly. That is, the Indian importer have to pay more dollar for a good than before because the value of a rupee has depreciated. So he has to pay more dollar than before. This, as a consequence of both this import and export, the current account deficit will reduce. That is, which is a net balance of export minus import. So this is a good sign at the macroeconomical level. And the second positive impact is external commercial borrowing will get reduced. That is, the borrowings will get more costly. The reason is the Indian borrower, when he has to repay his amount, he has to pay more dollar than before because the rupee has weakened. And the third positive impact is the tourism will get a boost because a foreigner now can convert a dollar to more amount of rupee than before. So this makes the India more attractive for tourism. And the next positive impact is creation of more employment due to cheap labor. That is, when the rupee depreciates, the labor will get more cheaper, and this leads to creation of lot of employment. And the next positive thing is IT sector will get benefited because most of our IT companies in India are generally export oriented and they export their services to foreign countries and earn their income in dollars. So this leads to a general improvement in the condition of Indian economy, as IT sector or generally the service sector is the driver of Indian GDP. We have seen the positive impacts of falling value of Indian rupee, but there are some negative impacts associated with the depreciation of rupee. The first one is, as we have already said, imports will become more costly, and India imports many essential commodities like oil, that is both crude oil and essential oils, edible oils and fertilizers. The rise in price of these commodities will generally lead to a inflation in the economy, and inflation will adversely affect the living conditions or standard of living of the Indian people. And the next negative impact will be reduced foreign investment, because when the rupee depreciates, the return on investment in India will be generally lower than before. So this leads to capital outflow from the Indian market, and this will have an adverse effect on sectors like manufacturing sector and infrastructure sector, which primarily depends on foreign capital for their investments. And the next negative impact will be reduced purchasing power parity, and this leads to an increase in poverty level in India. Generally, purchasing power parity means for buying a fixed basket of goods, how much of a particular currency is required. In this case, when the rupee depreciates, it will require a lot more amount of rupees than before to buy the same basket of goods, and this will adversely affect the consumption pattern of the people, and this may lead to an increase in poverty levels in India. That's it for today. Let's see with another topic in the next video. Thank you.